Peace and cosmic blessings, family. Welcome back to Cosmic Conversations, where we elevate the mind, awaken the spirit, and align with universal truth. I'm your host, TK Ra, and today we're diving deep into one of the most profound mysteries of consciousness, the Oversoul. What is it? How does it connect to who we are right now? And how we can strengthen that connection to guide our path in this lifetime. So grab your water, take a deep breath, and let's rise together tonight in frequency. For today's topic, understanding the Oversoul and how to connect. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back once again. Thank you so much to everybody tonight for tuning in, whether you're listening live or catching it by replay. I believe that today's topic of discussion is definitely going to be worth the replay, and it's going to be definitely worth grabbing a hold of what I want to talk about on tonight. So as I mentioned earlier, tonight's subject matter is going to be understanding the Oversoul and how to connect. So first thing, let's start by defining what the Oversoul truly is. So the Oversoul is not being outside of you. Okay? It is the total essence, basically, of who you are across time, across space, and across all dimensions. So if I could give it to you just for the sake of your grabbing and understanding, right? So imagine a massive sun. And every ray of light is one of your incarnations, your experiences, or even one of your lifetimes. You listening to this podcast right now, are one of those rays. And the Oversoul is the sun itself. So let's break that down a little bit. So the Oversoul is basically your collective consciousness of all of your lifetimes, right? All of your lifetimes that ever existed or that's existing right now across many dimensions, many across many places in time, just in general, existing in all universes. All right, the Oversoul is that collective consciousness of all your lifetimes. The Oversoul, it literally holds your divine blueprint and cosmic memory. And it guides each fragment. When I say fragment, meaning the soul or a personality, through experience and evolution, right? So the Oversoul is almost like, you can look at the Oversoul in another way to look at the Oversoul would be more so like a excuse me for 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Too much going on in the studio on the night. But as I was saying, so the Oversoul is almost like it's like the database of your soul, right? Where all of your soul's existence across many planes, across many dimensions, all the experiences that the soul is having is reporting back to this Oversoul. And the Oversoul literally houses all of this information, right? And you're able to tap back into this Oversoul to get wisdom and to get guidance, to get understanding, right? This is why the understanding the Oversoul is so important. It's so critical. So one of the things that I want to say too is that this is why ancient teachings would say, know thyself and you will know God. Or some might say, know thyself and know the universe, right? Because the Oversoul is that bridge between the individual and the universal. All right, I'm going to say that one more time. The Oversoul is that bridge between the individual and that universal. Okay? So think for a moment. What if the challenges you face are actually lessons that your Oversoul has designed to help you evolve? Think about that for just a minute. All right. I mean, literally, what if every challenge you've ever been through, every challenge you may find yourself facing now, past, or the future, was your Oversoul using situations and circumstances in your life to help you evolve into your higher self, right? To really come up into your true self, because your higher self is really your true self. That's really who you are at your highest state of being, right? But the soul is on many journeys so that it can learn and so that it can evolve into that higher self permanently. All right. So let's move on a little further. Let's talk about the relationship between the soul, the higher self, and the Oversoul. Now, many people ask, is the Oversoul the same as the higher self? That's an excellent question. Is the Oversoul the same as the higher self? Not quite. The higher self is like, the higher self is kind of like your spiritual GPS. It's the version of you that's closer to the Oversoul, acting as kind of like a translator between your human mind and your divine intelligence. Okay? So let me say that one more time. The higher self is like your spiritual GPS. It's the version of you, okay, that's closer to the Oversoul, acting as a translator between your human mind and your divine intelligence. So let's break down the hierarchy between the soul, the higher self, and the Oversoul, right? So the soul which is the personal essence, living the current life. Okay, your soul is having an experience through your life right now. So it's your personal essence living that current life. The higher self is like your spiritual overseer, helping you to guide your decisions. It's tapped into your intuition, and it literally carries that higher alignment that we all must pursue. Right? We must pursue that higher alignment. So the higher self is like your spiritual overseer, guiding your decisions, guiding your intuition, and guiding your alignment. While the oversoul is literally the eternal collective of all your expressions. The oversoul is like the architect of you, right? It's the architect, right? So that it's the eternal collective of all your expressions. Everything that exists about you in this plane and in other planes of existence that your soul is existing in right now, it is the collection of them all. Right? It is almost like the database. Okay. So when you hear, for example, that small, calm voice of your intuition, that's your higher self talking to you. When you experience like that deja vu, prophetic dreams, or deep resonance with in relations to spiritual truths, that's your oversoul reminding you who you are. All right. So let's think on that for just a minute. Let's just soak on that for just a minute, and then we're gonna come back and download some more. right, y'all doing okay? Everybody doing well? Hope everybody's doing good and doing good. Getting that, getting you a little bit, getting a little sip of water and take a taste of that divine memory. You know, one of the things that this is a sidebar. One of the things that I was studying something recently. It was talking about, how water carries memory, and you know, the importance of when you're drinking water, it's best to drink it in a glass, right? Because plastic actually distorts the memory of the water, right? That's a scientific fact. Already scientifically, they've proven that. They've proven both that the water's memory and also that plastic distorts the memory of the water. So the individual, and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about how um, it's good to you know drink water out of a glass, right? Because glass doesn't distort the memory in the water, and when you drink your water, that you speak over, you activate the memory of your ancestors, and you activate that memory. And as you drink that water, you're literally drinking uh, the memory of the ancestors, and that same memory taps into your DNA and helps you to remember, so much um, in reference to, any cosmic question that you could ask, anything that you could wonder about spiritually, anything you have questions about, you can always tap in to self to get the answers. So whenever I drink water, I always try to drink it like out of a glass, right? That's just something that I do because um, I value water. I value the memory that water carries, and I find it so important just to speak over your water, um, and that no distortions would come into your memory, and that everything would be prosperous, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. So take your water seriously, guys. So back to where we were. Hope you guys are taking some good notes on tonight. So before we left, we ended. We talked about um, the hierarchy in reference to the soul, the higher self, and the oversoul. The soul is that personal essence living the current life. The higher soul is we looked at as your spiritual overseer, guiding your decisions, your intuition, and your alignment. And the oversoul is that eternal collective of all your expressions from all dimensions that your soul is existing in simultaneously. All right. So now we're going to move forward a little bit. And we're going to talk about how the oversoul communicates. So the oversoul um, doesn't speak in words. The oversoul speaks in vibration. The oversoul speaks in uses synchronicity, and the oversoul also speaks in symbolism. So you might notice sometimes. You ever notice like repeating numbers or recurring dreams or experiencing a sudden inner knowing? This is your oversoul's way of saying remember, right? Remember. I was just a few days ago. I was driving down the street and I was headed somewhere. And I was like, man, what time is it? I looked, the clock was 11, right? Later on, a few hours later, I had to make a stop um, on my way to another destination. I looked at my clock clock said 1:11, right? So, I'm because I'm always like, in tune. I'm always aware that I can get messages at any time, and that's all of it. We should all be like that. We should all understand that we can get messages at any moment, right? If you're a Bible reader, if you ever read the Bible, there's a verse, so you can go and look this up. You can Google this, but there's a Bible verse that says that God speaks to man once or even twice, but he perceives it not. In other words, the universe is always speaking to you, but you don't always perceive that the universe is speaking. So we have to learn to be consciously aware that at any moment we can get a message, right? We could get a message for guidance. We can get a message from answering a question that we may have had. Sometime, I've gotten I've gotten answers to questions that I've had. Like, I may have asked a question, and then we totally forget all about it, and then suddenly get an answer. Sometime weeks, days, months, even years later. And when I get the answer, it's like, boom, I remember no matter how long ago it was that I asked that question. It just comes, right? So we got to be aware that the universe is always trying to speak to you, always trying to help you, right? Always trying to get you to elevate, because ultimately the ultimate goal is to come fully up into your higher self, right? And perfect your consciousness, right? So that you can elevate. That's the whole goal of it all, right? So we got to be really cognizant of repeating numbers. If you keep having the same dream over and over again, right? You got to be cognizant. It's got to be like, this is why it's good to keep a journal by the bed, right? So when you have a dream, boom, you write it down. 2 days later, you got the same dream again, or the dream may pick up where it left off, right? Because the Oversoul is trying to get a message to you, right? Because the Oversoul, remember, it's like a collective repository of all knowledge and wisdom that your soul has gained over many lifetimes, right? So it's packed with wisdom. It's packed with the answers to everything that you're looking for. The Oversoul can give you the answer, right? So we got to pay attention at all times, right? One of the things, just to give you a few ways to really posture yourself to be able to communicate with the Oversoul. It's like I said, it can be through your dream life, and also could be through meditation. It could be through intuitive insights or creative downloads, through nature, through synchronicities, through emotional resonance, and energetic alignment. These things can help us learn to communicate with the Oversoul effectively, be able to catch those messages, be able to catch the wisdom that's dropping, right? The Oversoul is always ready to drop it to you constantly. So understand that when the Oversoul wants your attention, it will align events so that you can't ignore the signs. And so the only question becomes, are you listening? Are you listening? The Oversoul will orchestrate events in your life. I promise you, it happens to me, like, and this, And this can literally help you keep the proper perspective on things, right? No matter what's going on, stop and say, okay, what is the message that Oversoul is trying to get to me right now? What's the message? What am I supposed to get out of this? What do I get out of this situation? What do I get out of this circumstance? What is it that Oversoul is really trying to teach me about this, right? Because a lot of times we get caught up in what's happening. We get caught up in the situation, caught up in the circumstance. We could get angry, we could get mad, we could even be happy, right? We get caught up, but we very rarely, we have to stop and remember, say, okay, what's the main thing I'm supposed to get out of this? What is it that I'm supposed to learn that can help me elevate? What is Oversoul trying to teach me right here? Right? Trying to show me something. What wisdom am I supposed to get out of this? What is the reasoning behind why is this all happening? Right? And it will teach you how to look within, right? To go deep within and find areas where you need to work on, right? Do that shadow work. Right? Doing that shadow work is critical. Working on the things that are hidden down on the inside of you that you may have suppressed, you may have forgotten about, right? Or maybe something you did, may not have fully suppressed it, but you didn't put a premium on it, right? So it's kind of like just floating out there, but it needs to be dealt with. So a lot of times the things that we find ourselves going through, Oversoul is trying to get our attention. Say, hey, I want you to deal with this right here. This is what I want you to deal with, right? So once you're able to connect to the Oversoul, right? It's literally gonna change. It will literally change your whole life. Do you hear me? It will change your whole life. So how do we connect? That's a good question. How do we literally connect to the Oversoul? Well, first we must quiet the noise of the physical world. The Oversoul always speaks through stillness, not chaos. We have to learn to quiet the noise, and meditation is one of the best ways to do it. This is why our ancient ancestors meditated so much, because it's in meditation that wisdom comes. In meditation that insight comes. Right? Through meditation, you begin to elevate. The Oversoul will talk to you, I promise you. Once you get in the habit of proper meditation, learn to breathe better. And we're gonna deal with some of these subject matters on some later episodes, right? But understand that you quiet the noise of the physical world. And you learn to block everything out. And you begin to tune in with the earth's frequency. Right? You tune in with the earth's frequency. And it's amazing because the earth's frequency can be heard. Literally. You hear it all the time. You just didn't know that. Most of the time you didn't know that's what you were hearing. Right? You ever sat still or been in a quiet room and you still hear that kind of ringing in your ears? That kind of it's a certain ringing tone. It's always going. It's in everybody, right? If you're sitting in a quiet room, or if you can get quiet for a minute, you hear that humming noise in your ears, right? It's not loud, but it is consistent and it's always there, right? That's the vibration. That's the frequency of the earth. That's the earth's frequency. And you're able to even use that to help you hone in and focus. And when you tap in on that earth's frequency, guys, I'm telling you, you will begin to hear the Oversoul internally speak and rise up in your conscious mind. Right? So we got to learn how to quiet the soul through meditation. Another way to do it is through journaling. Like I said, record your dreams. That we can keep track of patterns, emotions, and the synchronicities. Right? Journaling is powerful, right? Because the truth of the matter is, sometimes you, if you're like me, sometimes you have a dream and 2 days later you try to call it and you can't remember it all. You don't remember all the details. You may remember certain parts, or if it was something that was very impacting to you, you may you remember it in general, but you miss the details. That's why when you wake up, you had that dream. You to wake up, grab that pen and paper and start and write everything that you dreamed. Try to extract all the details immediately, because so much goes on, right, between when you rise up out of bed and when you make it out the front door. So much going through your mind, right? So journaling is powerful. Another way is to uh, uh, do affirmations, right? Say, I am one with my oversoul, and I remember my divine purpose, right? Excuse me. That's something that you can speak forth on a daily basis. I am one with my oversoul, and I remember my divine purpose. Another way is a breath work and frequency music. The breath work and frequency music will help elevate your vibration. It'll cause you to vibrate higher. And as you vibrate higher, you begin to tune in and tap in, right, to what the oversoul, the direction the oversoul is giving you, the insight, the wisdom, the knowledge, right? And the fifth thing that you can do is always practice self-honesty, because the oversoul cannot merge with false identity. Wow. Self-honesty, right? Just be honest with yourself about everything, about the good things, the challenging things, the way you are. Be, just practice self-honesty, guys, right? Because you don't want to think you're something that you're really not, whether it's considered something that you may consider bad or something you consider good. You want to know who you really are, right? So when you align your thoughts and your emotions and your actions with truth, that's when you become a clear channel for your oversoul's wisdom to flow through you effortlessly. Effortlessly. When you align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with divine truth of self, you will become a clear channel for your oversoul's wisdom to flow through you effortlessly. Let's think about that for a minute. Let's just meditate on it for a second. All right, we'll be right back. Right. Hope you guys had just a moment just to even think about that for just a minute. Right? You remember, and I left off with this. When you align your thoughts, your emotions, and actions with the truth, you become a clear channel for your oversoul's wisdom to flow through you effortlessly. As we get down to the end of the broadcast on tonight, I want to talk about the signs of alignment. Okay? So how do you know when you're in harmony with your oversoul? This is a good question, guys. I'm gonna say that one more time. How do you know when you're in harmony with your oversoul. The first way you know that you're in alignment with your oversoul is that you'll notice that life begins to flow instead of you trying to force it. Right? Everything just you're at a place where things just start to flow. Right? Everything flows. Spiritually, things are flowing. Mentally, things are flowing. Right? Without any strong effort. Things just flow to you. You start getting answers to questions. You start having wisdom, higher wisdom starts coming out of your mouth. Okay, just effortless. That you listen. Some things that you didn't know that you knew, those things will literally start coming out of you. You could be in conversation with friends or family or a stranger, having a conversation, and wisdom would just start coming out of you. Wisdom you didn't even you'd be saying things you didn't even know that you knew, but things just start flowing. That's because you're in alignment with your oversoul, right? Your intuition becomes crystal clear. Ooh, that's a good one. Because we interact with so many people, so many different personalities that intuition, that's one area has to be heightened, right? That intuition has to stay heightened. And when you start building a lifestyle of meditation, right, your intuition will get very sharp. Ooh, I mean very sharp, guys. I'm talking about very sharp. I mean, your oversoul will be granting you intuitive information, like, like, listen, I've experienced that um, several times, right? I experienced it recently, right? I'm the type of person that I'll test my intuition, right? And I'll say oversoul. Here's what I feel about such and such, or about a certain individual. Am I on point about this? Before I even address it, am I on point about this? And quickly I'll get the answer. The answer will show up. Sometimes it'll come through another person's mouth. They don't even know they're giving me the answer. Sometimes it'll come through repetitive things happening. Repetitive dreams might happen, or repetitive numbers might happen. Right? They'll just things just come. I ask an oversoul, and I'll wait for the answer, and it comes like within the hour. Okay, I'll have the answer that I'm looking for. Right. So your intuition becomes really clear. Um, people and opportunities and lessons appear in divine timing. Mm, wow. Now that's serious. People, opportunities, and lessons will literally show up in divine time. I mean, just like things just smooth, like with a flow. You go around the corner, and what you're looking for is already there. You go around another corner, somebody else might come up to you and have what you're looking for. The open door will be right there looking for you. And last but not least, guys, old karmic cycles break effortlessly. Do you hear what I'm saying? Old karmic cycles break effortlessly. Right? We go through. Sometimes we experience these karmic cycles, right? That we may find ourselves dealing. You ever had a problem, and then you thought the problem was gone, or you thought you solved it, but a week later, a month later, sometimes it could be a year later, the same problem right back at you again. And you keep finding something, why I keep dealing with this? I thought I dealt with this already. I thought I already had this. You find yourself in a karmic loop dealing with the same cycles over and over and over again, the same stuff. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's opportunities or the lack thereof. These you find yourself in this karmic loop. Right? I've been in karmic loops before, and they're not fun, right? Especially when they're painful, when they hurt, or when it could be ego crushers, right? And you're saying, so why do I keep going through this over and over again? This happened with such and such. It happened again a year later with this person. Oh, every time I meet somebody, the same thing keeps happening over and over again. It's a karmic cycle. It's a karmic cycle that has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with truth, with self, right? You have to learn to go within. That's why I said being true to self is so important, because it literally keeps you out of karmic cycles when you're true with yourself, right? So you might also feel waves of peace or expanded awareness, a sense that everything is connected and purposeful, right? That's a sign that you're in alignment with the oversoul. That's literally the oversoul merging with the conscious mind. So as we come to an end, guys, I want you guys to take a deep breath with me right now. Just take a deep breath and hold it. Mm. Let's take another one. Let's take a deep breath. And this time we were going to inhale cosmic light. And when we exhale, we're going to exhale all fear out of our life tonight. All right? Let's take that deep breath. We're going to hold it for 4 seconds. And then we're going to let it out. All right? You ready? Let's go. Breathe in. Exhale. Yeah. Nice. Real nice. Now you're remembering. So always remember, guys, the oversoul is you have to develop that connection with your oversoul. So important. So important. You gotta connect with the oversoul. It's critical in your growth. Right? It's critical in your growth. It's that eternal collective of all your expressions. It's the architect. It's the database. It's the answers. It has the answers to everything that you're experiencing right now. Connect with your oversoul. Listen, thank you guys so much for tuning in on tonight. We're gonna be doing this extended broadcast every Friday night, but on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm going to be releasing like some recorded segments on Mondays and Wednesdays. It maybe lasts about 10 minutes. This is a little something to kind of jog your memory and keep you moving forward. And I just want you guys to know that you're not alone in this process of growth. It's a lot of us out here, man. I mean, it's a lot of us out here. We can't always speak freely, because of the matrix has so many people entangled. We can't always speak freely. But I want you guys to know that this is a space where you can come, you can breathe, you can listen, you can think, you can meditate on what's being said, and you can grow and you can go forward. All right, listen. Until next time, you all have an awesome rest of your evening. All right. Salute till next week. I'm TK Ra, and thank you again for tuning in on Cozmic Conversations.